Good afternoon, class. In today's video, what I'd like to do is to cover how to checkmate with a king and a queen. This is actually a little bit harder to do compared to the king and the rook, like in my last video. The reason why is because in this one, it's kind of the same thing. The queen still cuts off the king just like the rook with the little box over here. But what I like to say is that the queen has a box, and that box has a stripe. And this sphere of influence is actually what can get you in trouble. For example, if it is my move and I say I want to make sure this king cannot move, so I'm going to put my queen right here. Well, that's great. You've cut off every square right over here. This king can no longer move. This becomes stalemate. And that is, of course, if you're black, that's awesome. You totally want that. But if you're white, you don't want that at all. So what you need to do is you have to remember, close the box, make that king go into a corner, and don't let the king come out. Okay? So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to assume for this scenario that it is black's move first. So normally, if black is smart, they will not stay along the edges because that's exactly where checkmate will occur. They'll want to come up and make this box as big as possible for as many moves as possible. But if black does come over here, what you do is you go right over here. And as you can see, black cannot come over here to threaten the queen because the queen is going to capture the king. The black cannot cross this line either, so black can only stay within these two squares, which is great because then your king comes marching down like so, and then you can checkmate. Or if you want to make the checkmate look a little bit better, you would say check first, move the king in, and then checkmate with a little bit more of a diagonal flair to it. So that is one way to do this. So what if the king is smart and doesn't actually stay along this edge? What if the king comes up? The same principle applies. You don't actually have to worry about if the king moves a certain way, will I still be fine? You will. You just have to be careful of this stripe. This stripe could allow for stalemate, so just be careful of that. So what you would do is you would move over here. Now what you've done is you've really compressed the box. And so now this king has 1, 2, and 3 squares to move, all of which, by the way, are on the edge of the board, which is exactly where you want the king to be. So if the king says, I'm going to move over here, that's fine. What you do then is you want to make sure that this king stays on this row, right? this column right over here. So what you do is you put your queen right here, because what that does is, as you can see, I'm moving off the original amount of squares of influence that my queen has. Because it doesn't matter at this point, the king is now trapped on this column right over here. So the king only has a choice to move here. It's the only choice given. So then what you do before we move in for the kill, or the checkmate, I should say, is what we're going to do is we're going to move our queen right over here. Now, as you can see, the king only has 2 squares of freedom. Every other square is now covered by the queen's influence. Yes, she does have influence over here, all the way over here, and over here. That is fair. However, that's not important to this checkmate. So the king would have to move over here. The queen can't move in any further because that would be stalemate. This is not acceptable. So what we do is we keep the queen over here and we move our king in. Right? King comes out. Our king moves over here. Now when the king goes back, you can checkmate, like so. If you were off by a move and the king was over here, you can still checkmate. That's fine as well. Or you can do what I did in the last scenario. Check, king moves, checkmate. So that is how to checkmate with a king and a queen. In the next video, what I'll do is I'll talk about how to checkmate with a queen and a rook as the next one. So study hard. I'll see you in the next video.